Hello, Campus Church. Pastor Zach here, and today we're looking at Psalm 141. This is the last of our life-changing psalms that form the focus of our study. I hope you've enjoyed the study. I think you're going to enjoy looking at this psalm. The inscription says it was written during a time of trouble. Now, David had a lot of trouble. We all have a lot of trouble. We don't know exactly what time of trouble, but we know this was a prayer to God while David was dealing with some serious issues in his life. And I think this psalm is a pattern for us. It's a pattern prayer to help us in our Christian walk to have close communion with God in the challenges of life. It's a prayer for revival. I'm not going to read the whole psalm. You're going to do that. But I just want to read some excerpts starting with verses 1 and 2. And at the start, we see that David saw his prayer as a spiritual sacrifice to God. Look how it reads. Lord, I cry unto thee. Make haste unto me. Give ear unto my voice when I cry unto thee. Let my prayer be set forth before thee as incense, and the lifting up of my hands as the evening sacrifice. So David compares prayer here to incense. And we know what incense was. It was these aromatic substances that were burned. Sometimes they were combined with coals from right off the altar at the temple or the tabernacle. And they were burned, and the smoke would fill the room. And it was a fragrant smoke. I picture this like walking into a home where they're burning a beautiful smelling candle. I used to live in New England, and a Yankee Candle Company was a short distance from our home, and we went there on many occasions with guests to go to the Yankee Candle factory. And it was sensory overload when you would walk in there, and they would have the different candles burning. And so picture going into the temple and smelling the beautiful smell. Now, the incense that was burning was not just to make the place smell good. We see in more than one place in the Bible that the incense is symbolic of our prayers going up to God and our worship going up before God. And God says, if our worship is done with a sincere heart and a heart of thanksgiving and a heart of faith, if our prayers and our worship are coming before God in that way, they are a sweet smell to God. God says, that smells good to me. I accept that. I'm listening. I want to help. And so David starts this psalm with that understanding. And then he prays for specific things that you'll notice in the psalm. First of all, he prays for protection against sin and protection against compromise in his deeds and through how he speaks. He says, set a watch before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips. Incline not my heart. Incline not my heart to any evil thing. He's saying, God, please keep me from evil. Keep me from evil with my mouth. Help me to live in this life purely. And that's a prayer I think that we need to be praying constantly before the Lord. It's in the Lord's model prayer that we should pray against evil in our life. Then David prays this unique prayer. He says, let the righteous smite me, and it shall be kindness. So I believe David is praying that he will respond to reproof correctly. And this shows David's teachable spirit. And we notice that it's something he prayed for. He said, Lord, I want to receive reproof. I want to receive correction. I want to be in the best state I possibly can be in my walk with you. And if I have to hear reproof, I receive that. For us today, we may hear reproof through preaching or the teaching of the Word or just reading the Word. You might receive reproof by reading through these Psalms in certain sections. And we need to have an open, teachable heart if we're going to be close to God. And then last of all, finally in the psalm, you'll see that David prays that God will change people and circumstances in his life. He's saying to God, I believe you can change the circumstances and the people around me. So through communion with God, David is able to maintain hope that God is working in the circumstance in his life. In fact, you'll notice in verse 7, he describes this desperate condition that he's in. And it looks like he might have been in this condition with his army or with the nation as a whole. He says this, our bones are scattered at the grave's mouth. I looked at some commentaries on this, and different Bible commentaries had different views of this. You might study this yourself, but it's obviously a desperate condition. We're at the grave's mouth here, Lord. We need you to come through. We need you to come through for us. We need you to change the circumstances. And then I like this phrase. David said, my eyes are unto thee. I'm going to look to you. I'm going to focus on you. And that's what we need to do in our prayer life. It's easy to look inward. It's easy to look outward and around us to try to find hope there. But the best place to go is to look upward, to go to God in our prayers. Let me encourage you to read this passage intently, looking for the application in your prayer life. And I pray that the discussion section will be helpful for you as you consider these thoughts. And then I want to thank you once again for joining us for these 6 weeks of study. And I pray that it's been a wonderful encouragement to you and your life.